What's going on, guys? Today I have a review for the Master Grade MS-06j Zaku II version 2.0. Just a disclaimer before we get started is I was customizing this kit before I decided to do a review, so there's two things that I've done that don't come standard with the kit, and I will point those out when we get to them. So to get started, let's look at the head. Now the head has a monocle, and it has a gimmick, which I think is really cool. When you turn the head to the left and to the right, the mono eye moves towards whichever direction you're turning the head. Now I think that is really cool. It's better than having like just a little sticker in there that stays at one spot. The head itself has Poseability. Obviously you can turn it to the left and to the right, but you can also do up and down to give it any combination of those that you think it needs for whatever posing you're going to do. The chest has a cockpit inside. You push up these things and there's the cockpit. Now the thing about the cockpit is in the back, here's the backpack. The backpack, while we're here, has two jump jets. This is the ground type Zaku, so those are the only thrusters it has. You take off the backpack and you have this little switch in the back right there. Now if you look at the cockpit, push these up again, and you move that switch, the cockpit moves inside. Now the confusing thing about that is, what is the function of that? I mean, it is a gimmick, got that, but what purpose does it have? So if the pilot's inside, he could just move to the other side? Is it because it's part of a different mold and they didn't have anything to do with that space other than make it? I don't know. I don't know quite why that's there, and it really doesn't make sense to me, but that's okay. The waist has its own articulation. If you look right here in the back, you can tip it forward and push it back. So it has 2 points there where at the waist and at mid-back, I should say, it moves. If you look at the arms and the shoulders, the mechanisms that hold both the shoulder pad and the shield to the side, it's a very smart way of doing it. It's just this little mechanism with a polycap. Now what makes that really cool and convenient is if you wanted to customize this, let's say add 2 shoulder pads to it, or 2 shields to it, or take something from a different kit and put it on here, you could easily just slide that out, find something that fits that polycap, and you could pop it in there without having to do any sort of modification to get it to do what you want. Same thing obviously with this side, just a little polycap in there, and it's kind of hard to see, but just pop that out and put something else on. Now the shoulder, you'll see it does have these 2 holes. Those are the customizations I did. It should look something like that, just a little circle. I use the pin vise to drill holes so that I can do some metal work in there and make it look nice. On the skirts, there are these holes. I will get back to those. And the leg has some awesome articulation. When you move the leg, the knee moves. It moves independently of the lower half of the leg. So again, you could see it like that. So it moves, and what that does is it allows it to have more flexibility. I mean, it could be connected to this, to the leg itself, but then you'd have this huge section that has a lot of length there that's kind of odd. It's not how human knees work, and since this is a humanoid suit, that would kind of break, I guess, immersion of some sort. The foot has a good articulation. The ankle has articulation, but the actual toes can be pushed up so that you can do whatever you really need to. You can turn the leg, you can do whatever you want. Now, this piping here is a smart idea as well. If you look at the piping on the face and the piping on the waist, those used a pre-molded plastic to keep its shape. But on the leg, you see this, it's a spring. So that when you do articulation, it matches whatever you're doing with the leg. It doesn't bind and look odd. That was a really smart change that really smart addition that they made to this kit. Going to the arm, the elbow does the same thing as the knees. It has its own point of articulation to make it look a little bit more natural, which is, again, a very smart idea. And then finally, we have the hands. Now the hands are the 2.0 hands, so they're not pre-molded hands. The thumb has its own articulation just at the joint. The index finger has its own articulation, and you can get some really weird positions for it. It just doesn't look right. And then the last three fingers, the way that they're designed is, at this point, they are all connected. So if you move one, you move all three, and like that. But right here, each finger moves independently, so you can make it do what you want. Now, as far as weapon attachments go, there is a notch on the hand there, and a notch on the hand there. And what that does is there's a little notch in there, and it helps the hand hold the weapon in place. Now, while it helps it hold the weapon in place, it's kind of hard to get it to attach. And I'm just thinking about trying it, but it is a little bit weird. Yeah. To get everything into place, it's really weird, and you can see I already bent the finger in a weird position, which is frustrating. This is one of the things I do not like about the hands, is while pre-molded hands, their downfall is the fact that you can't pose them very well. Their benefit is that you just clip the weapon to it and it's good to go. There's no extra work required. Both these, it can be a little bit of a fight, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Let's look at these pieces. You see these holes in the skirts, and what that's designed for is the kit comes with this little claw-like piece, and it just clips, just pushes in. Nothing too major. But what you can do is you can take the heat hawk, you can put the heat hawk right there. And so it allows the heat hawk to be attached to the Zaku without the Zaku actually wielding it. Now, again, just pull it out, you can put it in the back. Same thing. Might want to center it differently, but that's okay. And then, of course, on the other side as well. For this little tab, just flip it down. You can put the bazooka right there. Now, you see I'm moving it around, and it will fall off. That doesn't mean that this is a bad way of doing it. It just depends on how you have it set there, because there are times, you move it like that for poseability and whatnot. It's not going to just fall off, but it does come off easily. It might pose a problem later, but it's not too bad now. Well, I have this. Let's look at this. The weird thing about the bazooka launcher is it doesn't have the tab on the handle right here, so it can fit into this arm, into the left arm. But it does have it on the right, so that's kind of weird, because the bazooka, or the machine gun, has the tab on both sides. So I don't see why they wouldn't have done it for this, but that's okay. Well, it could be for this. If you notice that the handle that pops out here is on the side that the left hand would attach to. So that might be the reason. It's not ambidextrous in that way. Same with the scope. So it kind of demands that it be held in the right hand, and then the left hand grips the handle. So that could be it. Right here you have the little cover for the sight. You can pop open, flip it all the way back, and there you have your sight. Now, if you could see in there, you can see all the way through. That was one of the customizations I did. I used my pin vise to drill a hole, and then I used my rounded file to smooth it out to make it look nice. And then I glued it all together, and so I haven't finished polishing this stuff off, getting the glue and the plastic warping to look right, but that will be my next step. Here's the heat hawk, nothing too special, it's just a one single molded piece of plastic. Needs paint, obviously, but it's a heat hawk. Now the machine gun, I like the design of the machine gun. You have the sight that can move, so you can position it how you want. It has the handle. Now it's not an ambidextrous handle, so that when you just flip it around, it looks the same way. It's like kind of odd. You'd have to take it off and turn it around and to make it both-sided. But you can adjust everything to make it that way if you wanted. Here's the ammo canister. You just pop that in the top, just like that. Now the cool thing about the ammo canister is if you put the heat hawk on the side, you could pop the ammo canister on the back, and you could put the bazooka on top, and he could be holding the machine gun. So you can have all of his armaments attached to him, which is a really good idea. Which I like. I think it's a smart. It shows that they actually thought about it, instead of having weapons that he can't actually hold on to. So with that, here are the missile pods. Now the missile pods are my least favorite part of this kit. They're designed weird. Most of the time they don't stay. Again, it uses the tab system, just like the hands and the guns. There's tabs on two parts of the pods right there as well. And there's a tab spot right there, and on the inside as well right there. Oops. Oh, well, fix that later. The way to get them on is you take off the front cover, and it's just a little sliding piece in the plastic in there. Now the weird thing is, if you take off the back, here are your missiles. But you have to take off the back in order to get the missiles. I don't see why they did that. They could have easily designed it so that you just take off the front and you could take out the missiles and put the missiles back in. They might have done it so that the missiles don't slide out as you're trying to clip it on and off, but I don't see that as being a huge issue. And even now it's just kind of like a minor inconvenience, nothing too major. A cool addition, this is the mass-produced mobile suit, but what they've done is they've given you a helm or a head cap that you can replace with the one that's on there, and you can put different antenna in there. I think this is the one that goes to the Zaku. And then here is a little bit more technical looking one, not so rounded off. And I think that was really smart. It means that you can buy one kit and you can make a set with a command unit and other units as well. And you don't really lose too much. The pilots, you have just standard Xeon pilots, nothing special there. And they're Xeon suits, so that's that. And then finally, this little piece. This is the clip for the action base, so you put this in the arm, and then you just clip it to the bottom of the Zaku. Nothing too major. So, while going through this kit, I really liked it. I like the simplicity of it. It is the first mobile suit that you see in the series. It's supposed to be a mass-produced mobile suit, so nothing too fantastic about it. But as far as this design goes, this specific kit, the things that I find frustrating are the missile pods and how they work and how they don't work well when on the suit. I mean, what they do is they pop off the tabs and then they just kind of spin around the legs, which, yeah, that's very sad. And then another thing I really don't like is the hands. I like having... I think what would have been best is if they had the extremely posable hands, but they also had preformed hands in case you wanted to use those. Because while these are nice in terms of posability, just to get them to hold onto a weapon and to stay holding onto a weapon without it popping off, it's for me it was near impossible. Every time I tried it, just things didn't look right, and every time I tried to pose it so that he looks like he's holding the weapon right, it would pop off, or it'd come in conflict with like a shoulder or some other part of him, and it made it very difficult. So That's the downfall. But overall, I really do like this suit. I like the simplicity of it. I like that all his armaments can attach to him, and so he's carrying everything he has with him. I think that's a really good design. And then finally, the last thing I think I'm just confused about is the cockpit. So overall, I like the suit. I think it's worth getting. I think if you're a fan of Gundam, or if you really want to work on customization, it is a good kit to start with. It is a master grade, so master grades, if you're doing a lot of customization and you want to practice, I practice on a high grade. But if you want to work on a master grade and practice on a master grade, I think it's a good kit for that. So, what kind of features do you dislike about kits that you've built? Leave your answers below. And if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more, go ahead and subscribe. And we will see you next time.